For those airlifted out of Afghanistan, the mad dash to escape has passed. But many without all their documentation in order may now face steep legal hurdles during their next steps in their resettlement. How will they get out of immigration limbo? The group Human Rights First has been providing pro bono legal assistance since the Haitian refugee crisis of the 1980s. Robyn Barnard is Senior Advocacy Counsel for Refugee Protection at Human Rights First. She and her team have been working round the clock on the Afghan crisis. Robyn, your organization has a 40-year history of providing legal assistance to refugees, and we want to get to that in a minute. But first, your team was also involved in the frantic scramble to get as many Afghans out of the country as possible. Tell us about that effort.
Well, it was not something that we undertook alone. We worked in a coalition with many other groups called Evacuate Our Allies. And this was a combination of human rights organizations and veteran groups and just other people who are very concerned about what was happening to our Afghan allies and other vulnerable Afghans. So we were working around the clock the past 3 weeks to try and get as many of our Afghan allies out of the country as possible. But this was something that we started several months before in urging the president to start the evacuation. And sadly, that evacuation did not start until very late in the day. And, you know, that's the resulting chaos that we saw over the last month out of Kabul.
You speak of Afghan allies. Can you describe that for me? Who qualifies as an ally?
So these are Afghans that have worked alongside our troops and U.S. government forces in Afghanistan for many years. They put themselves in harm's way in the hopes of building a better Afghanistan alongside the United States. So when we say Afghan allies, we mean those Afghans that bravely stood beside U.S. troops and forces in Afghanistan. And it's not just the Afghan allies that we've been concerned about, although they're very high at the top of the list. But there are other members of Afghan society that include civil society actors, women, judges, others who've been working towards a better future in Afghanistan and now face a really terrifying prospect of life under the Taliban.
And Robyn, thanks to your help and many others, thousands of Afghans did make it out and are headed to the U.S. What kind of immigration issues will they be facing here? And how does Human Rights First help?
So because there was a very slow movement over the past 4 years of many of the immigrant visas for those Afghan allies that I mentioned before, unfortunately, many of them didn't receive final approval of those visas. So they are now coming to the United States in the evacuation process and arriving here and needing to start the process of seeking protection. That is something called asylum. It's a very complicated process under the best of circumstances. But for folks that have fled their country with just a small handbag, sometimes less in their possession, they're often, facing a very steep hurdle in meeting the standards in our laws to qualify for asylum. That's why having pro bono and quality legal counsel at your side is essential. And that is something that we are stepping up to provide and to ensure that these Afghans are not left alone through this process and that they have assistance and support to see out this process of seeking protection in the United States.
And what about those refugees who left Afghanistan and may now be stuck in an intermediate way station in a third country, or maybe their paperwork was incomplete or stolen or lost in this crush to get past the Taliban at the airport? Do you get involved in any of those cases?
Yes, we've been hearing from many Afghans who were able to get out of the country either on an evacuation flight or through some other means, maybe a land route into a neighboring country. And they're now seeking to find their way to the United States to get to safety. So they are definitely top of our mind here at Human Rights First. We are standing up legal teams to help them in seeking different pathways to resettle in the United States. And it's something that we've urged the U.S. government to pay close attention to and to not let those Afghans remain stranded in third countries. Many of these people are included in that Afghan allies population that I described earlier. And just due to the chaos and the very real security risks on the ground in Kabul the last several weeks, they took whatever means they could to get out of the country. And we need to stand by them and make sure that we bring them to safety now.
That's right. We can't blame them for using anything they could to get out. There have been many refugee crises over the decades that your organization has been active with, going back to your original mission. Do you view this Afghan situation as uniquely challenging, or are there other situations that have been equally as difficult?
Well, it's certainly something that I haven't experienced in my career. Being in real time, talking to families in Kabul over the last several weeks and speaking to them about how to navigate the very precarious route to get to the airport to the U.S. troops and to get into the airport to seek safety. So it's definitely unique in that experience, I think. But we do see many refugees that are in need of protection. And most recently, and continuing at our southern border, there are many refugees that are waiting in Mexican cities in very dangerous conditions and are unable to exercise their legal right now to seek protection due to an ongoing barrier that was put up by the previous administration, blocking asylum seekers from seeking protection at our southern border. So that is something that is ongoing and top of our minds as well.
Well, we will be thinking about you and praying for your efforts to help all of our Afghan allies. Thank you so much, Robyn.
Thank you for having me.